The Crane Project XL Edition. So here I am adding some texture to a big ass canvas. I actually did this to 2 different canvases of the same size. I'm doing this because my friend Ian asked me if I could make a big ass piece of art that involved paper cranes. Basically, to kind of go back a little bit, last year I was given a box of paper cranes. The box had 1,186 cranes, and yes, I did count them. And I was doing a TikTok live with a friend, and I started gluing the cranes to paper and just like making different patterns and stuff. And Ian saw one of the ones that I did and was just like, dude, I want that, but bigger. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. You know, I didn't realize how big he wanted to start with, but I've never done an art project because somebody asked me to. I wasn't doing art a year ago. I got some paints and stuff for Christmas, and I played around with that a little bit, and then just the last couple of months it's like really exploded. So I agreed to do this before I was even art minded. It was just like a project, and I hadn't sold any pieces, I hadn't made anything worth selling. I just agreed to do it because why not? Why not? You live once. Just do the thing, okay? Anyway, so I got the canvases, and I originally wasn't planning on doing the texturizing. It was just gonna be cranes, and then it was like, I want to add texture, and I just felt like it was the right thing to do. I don't really visualize stuff very well, so I do things by feel a lot. I get concepts of how things are gonna look, but it's words more than pictures. So that's what I did, and so I put this stuff on, and I had to let it dry for a couple of days because it's pretty thick in a couple spots. And then I didn't capture this, but I painted them, so I primed them, and you'll be able to tell that I did that after this clip is over. You'll see, because it'll be all like a uniform color. It'll be primed. Gosh. So yeah, and you'll see it in a little bit that I do the texturizing on the edges as well, but I only did it on 3 edges. The side that is going to be facing the other canvas, I did not do it, and the same idea for the other one. So that if Ian wanted to hang them close together, he could do so. And I did end up designing it with the idea that it would go close together. So yeah, and I do this texturizing thing. Sometimes, like, I'll make postcards and I'll do it and then paint over it. And it's interesting because when you put it on, it's sitting pretty tall and it looks okay. And then as it dries, it kind of settles down and flattens a little bit, and you feel like it got fucked up. And you're like, man. But once you put some paint over it, it looks great. So one of the lessons that I have learned by doing this and by doing art in general is to kind of trust the process. You know, don't snap judge something before it's done. Let it dry, see what it looks like. You know, like paint looks totally different once it's dry than it did when it's wet. And then when you add the sealant, it looks one way, and then when the sealant dries, it looks another way. It's, you know, it's like there's just a process, and then there's the trusting of your own perspective versus other people's perspective. Like, my perspective when I work on things is I just mostly see the details of what I've worked on. So I look at it and I go, God, that looks like crap, because I'm super familiar with it. I just see the details. I can't see the whole thing. I can't see the canvas with the texture. I see the individual blobs that I put on there. And so I've learned that when someone says, hey, I really like that, to trust them. I don't have to agree with them, you know? And sometimes when people decide they want to buy something from me, which is fucking amazing, by the way, like unbelievably amazing, and I see pictures of that piece hung up, and here you can see it's painted and primed. It looks pretty good. And now I'm placing the cranes. But as I was saying, when I see like pieces that I've done for people or people have bought from me in their place, then I'm able to get like that distance to have perspective and be like, okay, it's not that terrible, you know, it's not that terrible. So here I'm putting them down. I was undecided how I wanted them to lay. I originally visualized them sitting like this with the wings out because I really like the artwork that I used. But they take up a lot of space that way, and mounting them would be iffy. Like I could use glue. I've got a couple different types of glue that would probably work pretty well, but stability and, you know, like transporting it, and I don't know. I don't have the patience to do like test runs where I just take one and test it and see how it goes. So I just was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with the work of trying to figure out how to mount these and then potentially have it fail later. Like that's really going to stress me out. So you can see here that I then committed to something else, which works because you still get to see the art, but it also offers a sense of like motion that the other way didn't. The other way is like each individual crane is facing a certain way, so therefore it's moving that way. But this is different, and there's like subsections within the entire thing doing its own thing, kind of like a school of fish or whatever. So I think that like this decision was a good decision to do it this way. And I did not capture folding the cranes. All of the big ass cranes in the middle coming out to the edges, I folded those myself. The ones here on the outer edge, I just put the pink and yellow bright smaller ones. It was actually like $5 for 50 of them, so I cheated. I don't feel bad at all because my goodness, folding them cranes is not fun. I put about 30 hours into that probably just in and of itself. And then later you'll see smaller ones that are going to be on the outer edge, and those are a mix of ones that I did and then the ones from the box that I got that had the 1,186 crates. So yeah, and there's some that are like scrapbooking paper that's like 12 by 12. And then there are these big newspapers that Ian got me that you can see ones that look like newspapers. And those ones I had to cut the paper to get it into a square, and those were like between 8 and 10 square inches. I don't, is it 10 by 10 or 8 by 8? Okay, I don't know. So yeah, and I have a couple of the cranes in here, like my favorite cranes. Like there's this one you can kind of see towards the bottom. It's sort of almost centered, but off to the right a little bit, near the bottom, and it looks like body parts. It is body parts. I used an Athleta catalog for some of these, and so there's some really random body part ones, which I thought was funny. And the really small ones from the box that was sent to me are made up of like receipts, post-it notes, maps, brochures, things like that. So a lot of really random stuff, a lot of different patterns and colors, and you know, like there's just, even while I was working on it, there's just like so much to see. You know, the closest thing to repetition are the cranes that I bought, because it's just like 6 or 7 patterns. And I tried to keep them not next to each other too much. But yeah, so there you can see Amos is in there. The part where I was texturizing is at 500%. This is at 700%. And when I start gluing, it's at 800%. The 500% when I was texturizing though, the sound is so great. It's like, and I wanted to leave it in, but I didn't. Just cause like it wouldn't really fit because I removed the sound from all the rest, but it's really great. And the sound and all the rest of it's awful because I was listening to music, and industrial music at 700 or 800% is just dreadful. It is not good. It's funny, but I would never put anyone through that. You know, it's bad enough listening to my voice. But yeah, another point. I already did this, and there ended up being an issue with the mic that now I'm like paranoid it's happening again. So I'm gonna pause and check real quick. Yeah, we're good. So what happened is my USB cord died while I was recording, but it didn't die in a catastrophic no longer connecting the mic kind of way. It died in a it's still connected but it's not transferring sound kind of way, and so I lost about 20 minutes of the first round, and so I'm doing it again. And so I can't really remember what I said that didn't get recorded versus what I've said that has. So if I seem a little bit like, oh, that would be why. Anyway, so this process, the entire process was like 6 months. And there was a lot of time put into thinking about stuff before I did it. And then once I did it, I would do stuff like this. You know, what you see here, this is like multiple days of work. Because I had to like take breaks and rest because of my fatigue issues and stuff. So I would go do stuff for a little bit, then I would leave, come back, sometimes multiple times in a day, 10 minutes here, an hour there. I had a couple of good energy days, and I just spent like several hours working on it, but still taking sitting breaks, and for, you know, body pain reasons. But yeah, it just took a lot of time, and I reached this point where like every project has this for me. I don't know if this is true for other people, but for me, most projects, there's a lull. It's kind of like playing Borderlands. Every single Borderlands game, it's pretty fun and you're doing stuff, and then you reach this point about a little past midway through in the game where that gives you like a whole bunch of tasks that involve just running around, and there's no real action, and it's really just kind of boring. It's like that. And okay, so you see that I'm starting to glue here, and so that was kind of this. I reached this point where I was just like, this is boring. And not in a like, oh God, I hate it, why am I doing this, ugh, kind of way. Just to like, it just makes it a little more challenging because I'm really excited to get it done. I want to see the end. I just wish I didn't have to do some of the steps. So the gluing, you'll see, not all of the gluing is here. Partially, I didn't record all of it, and partially, there's a bug. There's some kind of bug in my video editing software. You'll see later I actually marked it on the video. But, and I had to delete a couple hours of stuff. Anyway, so the gluing, every time I do an art project, I learn that there was something that I didn't anticipate or I didn't know. And the next time I do it, it's a little easier, a little faster, a little more efficient, a little better. And so the gluing, if I ever did this again, I would make sure that I had the right items, the right shaped items, sized items to weigh down the cranes. I originally was not anticipating even needing to do that. This glue works pretty well. I was stimming there. But for whatever reason, just the way the cranes and the upward pressure of the bottom, they did not wanna. And the smaller the crane, the less of the crane is actually touching the canvas, and so like I have to put pressure to like get it to. I'm stimming so much, like it's funny. So yeah, so I would definitely plan for that. So, because basically I had like 5 or 6 tools, so I could only do 5 or 6, and then I have to wait a certain amount of time. And sometimes by the time I got through like the 5 or whatever, I could go back to the first one, assuming I remember which one it was, and it would be ready. But as I got to the smaller ones that are more stubborn, it was not working as well, and I had to actually take breaks. So it would have been great to have more things to weigh them down. And I found like for some of the shapes or sizes and paper types, it was better to weigh the top and the bottom down at the same time instead of trying to like lay it across. The big ones were the easiest for this. So, yeah, and I was pretty impressed. I used an entire bottle of glue, and I didn't use a lot of glue for each. it just added up. I mean, honestly, I'm like looking at this and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a lot of cranes, but you know, it's not really that many cranes. Like, why did it take me so long to fold the cranes? It is a lot of cranes. And it's not fast folding them, at least not for me. I didn't have good luck getting consistent shapes, like, and I don't know if it was like the folding technique because there's a bunch of different ones that the end result's very similar, or, you know, the paper I was using or whatever, but I just had issues like with the tail not looking quite right and stuff like that. And I just decided it's okay. That's my style of crane. That's how it's going to be. That's how the art's going to look. It's going to be pretty consistent throughout all the cranes, except for the ones that I didn't do. And even then, yeah, just let it go. You know, that's been another thing that I have learned or been learning, practicing while doing the art, is embrace the chaos. It's hard. One of the reasons why there are certain things in my life that I didn't do in my younger years is because of like perfectionism, because I want to do it right. And there are some things that like you can get wrong and it's not a big deal. You just redo it. Like, I don't know, changing out your brake pads or whatever. If you mess up and you let the pin slip or whatever, it's like you can fix it. So it's not really a big deal to like jump into doing it if you've never done it before. Not for me. Mechanical stuff is easy, but like some things, especially if they're like more conceptual for me, I'd be like, I'm not gonna be able to do it well. And if you do art and you mess it up, there's not like redoing it. Get a new canvas, you know? I mean, sometimes people like scrape stuff off and whatever, but that doesn't always work so well. So like, just learning to like let things be instead of making every single thing very exact. You know, that's been a really good exercise for me. And doing this piece, this huge, here's the bug. There it is. Gotta love it. So, you know, doing this big ass project for somebody and having kind of this fear that they're not gonna like it, they're not gonna be happy with it, but just doing it anyways. Just fucking do it, you know? It's just a really great experience for me, and it totally bumped my confidence where I started doing other stuff I've never done before, even before I handed this off, you know? And I just, every time now I hear some new thing, new to me, not new to other people that do art, I'll be like, what? I gotta try that. Like I just ADHD that shit, you know? And I guess I'm an artist because I make art, and I've sold 5 pieces, and then I've homed several pieces like this one. So I guess I'm an artist now. That's fucking weird. I've never thought of myself that way. But I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh Yeah, I don't remember. I just got up and blew out some candles and walked back in, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, man. Let's see, embracing the chaos, confidence. Yeah, yeah, basically. I mean, everybody's been really happy with the stuff I've sent them. I have my Patreon, and I've made art for people, and some of the art's not that good, but they've been happy with it, and my art that I'm sending out is getting better, and I actually feel a little guilty for my early Patreons for that. My early patrons, excuse me. Like, I'm tempted to make little things for them now, and just be like, here you go, because the earlier one was not so good. But I do have a little more confidence in just the doing and embracing of the chaos and the Zoigans. So that's pretty cool. It's a big mental shift for me to be doing this stuff and to even be able to do it, because like I spent so many years so sick that I couldn't do anything, and then I still have a lot of limitations, but I can sort of balance things to do this stuff. And that's pretty awesome too. So, yeah. And gluing and the gluing and the gluing. It's just pretty. I wear the same clothing for a few days in a row. I only wear the clothing if I have to, so they don't get dirty. Because like if I'm not on camera, I don't really need to wear much, right? So I realized that it's actually really hard to tell that multiple days have passed when my clothing stays the same. But yeah. It is interesting to watch it now that it's been a while since I did it. And man, I was a lot funnier the first time through. It didn't get recorded. It's so rude. Like Amos was talking to me, and like, yeah, there's no cat meowing now, is there? But we can sit here in awkward silence. I mean, I'm okay with that, if you're okay with that. Sit here and twiddle our thumbs and do this. I don't know. I'm very proud of this. I think it looks cool, but it's still kind of boring to me because I worked on it. But I'm really proud of the fact that I actually did it. I did all this stuff. And it's significant because a lot of my life, if I did agree to do something, there was a very strong chance I wouldn't do it. And I would let people know I wasn't going to do it. I didn't just full on flake, but it was like an ADHD thing, where I had a really hard time with like executive function. I had a hard time like figuring out order of operations. It just made it very hard to get things done. And since I started getting my ADHD treated, my brain has been working better, and it's kind of twofold because I have like middle-age hormone changes, and things like ADHD get significantly worse for women at this stage. And I had gotten to the point that I just could not function, like in ways that I was used to functioning. Like, I'm usually really good at putting stuff together, like say getting something from IKEA, and I could just put it together. I barely even need to read the directions, and it had gotten to the point that even with the directions, I couldn't figure it out. I needed somebody else to do it. I would get stressed out and I would get overwhelmed. And so I couldn't do the work on my car. I couldn't put things together. I needed like help. And since I started the medication, that part has gotten better. But there's all these little things that are better than they've ever been. Like things that I've had issues with my entire life that I didn't even recognize were issues. I just had no confidence in myself. I literally just thought that I was incapable, and I am not incapable. I just didn't know. And so like, I think I've just been like embracing the benefit of the medication, to just do all these things and to have all these experiences that I would not be able to do otherwise. And at the same time, I'm actively trying to learn how to build pathways in my mind so that if I'm not able to take the medication at some point, I will still have some of the benefit, even if I don't, don't get the medical benefit of how it makes me feel, because the medication makes me feel better. I feel more relaxed, less anxious. I sleep better. I feel more like myself than I have since I got sick with the meds. But I no longer have this angle change, fancy. I no longer have this pressure to constantly be feeding myself stimuli. As a matter of fact, I'll sit in the house with no music on and be quiet because it feels amazing. And it used to be I couldn't handle it. And I know that that's because I'm getting the stimuli I need from the medication, as well as the dopamine, because my dopamine deficiency was horrific. And that's one of the things that the ADHD meds actually help with, because the dopamine doesn't get to the receptors the way that it should in an ADHD. You know what I mean, brain. So we are reaching the end here. Here I'm finishing up the gluing. And then I'm going to be adding some paint. And I like this angle. Good job. And then what is not captured is sealing it. I use 2 whole cans of an acrylic spray matte, or maybe satin. I might have done satin seal, just so that the paper, paints, and all that wouldn't get damaged too easily, during moving and all of that. And actually, see, paint. I can see the future. When Ian came to pick up the pieces, I had used ceramic wrap and wrapped them so that they would transport more safely as well. Because I am SMRT. Yes, and here you see I am blessing the painting excuse me, I am blessing the art with paint. It reminds me of the motorcycle runs I went to as a little kid, the Easter runs. There would be a religious clothing wearing person that would be blessing all the motorcycles as they rode by. Bless, and bless, and bless, and bless, and bless. And at the very end here, in just a minute or so, you will be seeing 2 photos. 2 photos. One is just one half of the art, and and then the other one is me standing in front of the entire piece. So we're just about at the end. If you made it this far, you're fucking awesome. Thank you for listening, and yeah.